and
You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of truth, a dimension of freedom, a dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the capitalist corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the Capitalist Corner.
That's right, folks. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Capitalist Corner. I am your host, Mark Pellegrino, and also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and the vice chair of the American Capitalist Party, Michael Liebowitz, who has his own show, The Rational Egoist, which you all should be watching and or listening to immediately. Michael, you gave us an update yesterday. You want to give us another update today on what's going on in The Rational Egoist so people can tune in?
Well, the next episode is entirely contingent on James Stevens Valiant because we're interviewing him about this newly revealed Rothbard letters to Frank Meyer discussing Ayn Rand. Jim was actually mentioned in the article. He didn't know it until I pointed out to him. So that's going to be good. We're waiting for Jim. But speaking of Jim, let me just tell you. So, Persephone gives us the clips, and I posted the clip of you and I arguing yesterday. And surprise, surprise, here comes Jim with a comment. Oh, I'm inclined to agree with Mark. Come on. And it was so, he's like, not that I was wrong in what I said.
He's probably fucking with you.
He says we need to be more charitable or some schmaltzy thing. I don't know. But that's what happened. That's what my morning consisted of, that and arguing with anarchists.
Hey, man, Subby is trying to get us to fight, man.
Well, I told you yesterday, Subby's a skirt. So what does it matter?
Yeah, that was off air, though. So I don't think Subby actually heard that. But now
I told him, so he heard it both. He's aware.
Well, folks, I have to say before we get started here, we are not affiliated with the American Capitalist Party. We're just two capitalists talking about the news from a capitalist perspective. If you want to know what the Capitalist Party policies are, go to AmericanCapitalistParty.org. Donate, become a part of the change, folks. If you're tired of the tribalism and the bullshit that you're seeing today, the power grabs, the political class, the solutions to Trump, which we're going to talk about. Actually, the Jacobin article is very interesting. As there was another article that claims the socialists are sort of trying to be the answer to Trump, and they're actually gaining ground. So it's the old 1930s battle between fascists and commies. We are the actual solution, folks. We are the third way, and I think it's the only way. What is a skirt? This is a question that they
that
in trouble for this, brother.
That is what you focused on just now.
This is a question.
Hey, man, listen.
Question before we start the news, you have to answer.
She should. Well, I'm not going to say what she posted to Twitter yesterday. It was kind of insane. But I got a suggestion though. We've been influenced by Leonard Peikoff, so I'm watching a lecture that Leonard gave the other night, and the hair was just insane. I think that we should get Leonard Peikoff 1990s wigs and rock them.
Oh yeah, did he have crazy hair in the 1990s? I forget.
Oh my lord! I'm just saying.
What did the REO Speedwagon do? What was it?
I'll get it and I'll send it to you.
All right. Well, he was very formidable in the 90s. I remember listening to his radio show, which
he was formidable. He's awesome. He's a brilliant man. But that hairdo.
That show, by the way, became quickly syndicated, and it was one of the deepest shows that I'd ever heard on radio. But he couldn't continue it. This is a man in his 50s who couldn't continue doing the show because it was just too much work to do a philosophical show for 2 hours or 3 hours a day.
I don't know where you're going with this. You've completely lost me at this point.
Well, you're lost because you're looking at your cell phone. Let's start with the news, my friend, because we have a lot of news to talk about. You sent me something from Axios that was very disturbing. Actually, Trump himself said something very disturbing when he was questioned about whether or not he should check in with Congress about what he's doing in Venezuela with the military. I think he said something to the effect, and this is, of course, a paraphrase, so don't catch me for not quoting him exactly. He said, we might tell them. We might tell them what's going on. We might. And, it doesn't really matter what they say. I think I'm editorializing quite a bit here. Doesn't matter what they say. But we might tell them, we might not. So he feels no obligation to inform Congress. He feels no obligation to actually abide by the Constitution's separation of powers, and if he is going to, in fact, carry on a war with another state, as he seems to be threatening with Maduro and Venezuela, then to actually go through the Congress properly, meaning the elected body of representatives of the people who are, in essence, in control of the military, or at least of the war powers. He seems to be, flying in the face of that. And what you sent me here was a very frightening article. Behind the curtain, Trump claims the power to do almost anything. And it does, you do get the sense that he is asserting this. Trump is asserting the right to unilaterally use military whenever and wherever and be the sole judge and jury of his own actions. And that's just not with the military. It's across the board with economics. It's with how the intelligence services are used. It's with respect to, and right now, shutting down the economy. Michael, what do you think of this? What do you think of this crazy precedent that now every president has said it? And
okay, see, this is where you're now stepping on my toes.
Okay, because I asked you a question and then I just talk.
Yeah, you asked me a question, and then you start giving the answer that I was going to give. So now what do I have?
Oh, okay, okay, go ahead.
So, yeah, that's the thing that I really enjoyed about the article. Wasn't just the authoritarian that Trump is, the arbitrary power he wants to wield, but that this goes back at least to the Bush administration and the claims of executive power. And I remember Dick Cheney was very big on executive power, executive authority. And he used to, make those arguments. And even back then, while I supported Bush, I used to think, like, why are conservatives arguing to increase executive power? But not to be outdone, Obama then, of course, did the same thing. And each of these jabronis doesn't seem to get that they are not in power forever. So they think they're usurping a power that gives it to them and they get to do what they want with it, not understanding that it will come back to bite them in their authoritarian derrieres. And that is going to happen. And we will see, if what continues to happen when Trump gets out of office. Now, I got to tell you, I'm very interested and very concerned about the 2026 elections and what exactly is going to happen. What Trump is going to do. We're going to get to that soon, where he's already talking about we have to preserve the integrity of the elections and all that shit, which what we really means is we can't lose, because when we lose, it's evidence that it's fixed. We're in dangerous waters, my friend. Dangerous waters. And as Jim says, I have delicate toes, and these toes are getting cold in this water. I don't think that really follows, but whatever.
I'm going to have to agree with Ira Hazam, who says Mandami is not a good alternative to Trump. I know that, but do the New Yorkers know that? Because he held a rally with about 13,000 people recently, and they were all chanting when Governor Hochul went up there to, introduce him or whatever she did at that stupid rally, tax the rich. And I kept thinking to myself, okay, New York, you think taxing the rich is not going to set the rich on their feet, on their horses, getting out of New York as quickly as possible? 1% of that tax base supports 40% of your services. 10% of that tax base supports 2/3 of your services. They're going to leave. That tax base is simply going to leave.
Well, you could tell you're rich. How would you respond?
I would leave.
You and Razi together.
Yeah, well, I would leave. If the idea was to persecute me to pay for these stupid social programs, that they believe I'm some sacrificial animal, that the values that I've earned are somehow more merited belonging to somebody else. Yeah, I think that's a state that doesn't have my interests and my rights protection in mind. It's a state that thinks I am a tool. I'm a slave. I'm somebody who could be exploited for somebody else's benefit. And that's not the way, that's not Americanism, man. That's not the way the American government should function. Unfortunately, that is more commonplace than what we talk about, which is the protection of individual rights.
Yeah. Can I just tell you what we've done here? We've now reduced two sophisticated objectivist thinkers, Jim Valiant and Greg Lewis, are now having a disagreement about whether my toes are delicate or sensitive.
Well, man, the political discourse, it's just reflecting the political discourse, my friend,
Yeah.
which has dropped pretty
So,
intensely in the
did
last.
you move on to the Mamdani, whatever? Yeah, I can't
No,
even
but
say
it looks like there's pressure to do that because Deeper with Diego is like, why are you guys talking about Trump, man? What about the Democrats? So, I mean, we do
He's
have,
joking. You don't know this guy yet?
I mean, a little bit, but no, you can't. I can't read sarcasm through the thing.
He makes that joke every day, making fun of the Scott Schiffs of the world. Every day he does
But
it.
you see, okay, good. So, but I don't look at the chats like you do. I'm busy listening to you, Michael. You're busy reading the chats. I'm not. But there is a very interesting article. Let's talk about Mandami a little bit. I'm going to take Deep with Diego seriously, even though he was being sarcastic. Trumponomics is pushing young voters into socialism. Now, why would that be, Michael? Why do you think Trumponomics would push young voters into socialism? Because I think that's true.
I think so also. And I'm going to cite the aforementioned Leonard Peikoff, whose picture I texted to both of you, hoping maybe Persephone would post it.
It's bad hair. It's bad hair.
So I wanted, so I can show what we're talking about. But in Objectivism, the philosophy of Ayn Rand, he talked about how conservatives are actually worse than the liberals, because the conservatives are claiming the mantle of free market capitalism. So what ends up happening is in the mind of the uninitiated, the people on the sidelines, Republicans means capitalists. So you can see this often when you post when I post a clip of us talking pro-capitalism, the reflex of the person that responds often is just like, yeah, well, how's that working out with Trump doing this? They assume when you say capitalism, you mean Trump. So if you assume that capitalism and Trump are the same and you see Trump's policies and that's capitalism, well, what's the opposite of that? Socialism. So it makes perfect sense to me that that's what's occurring, which is why I'm so adamant about separating us from the Trumpkins. I do not want to be associated with that. And I think it's absolutely vital that we keep pointing out over and over again, no matter how much it aggravates people, that Trump is not a capitalist. You know, I sent you, I think I sent it to you, Mike Lee's post. Did I send it to you?
I don't know.
Oh my Lord. Okay. Well, Mike Lee posted on X that, you know, that in Argentina, they turned away from socialism. They chose capitalism. And I told him, okay, well, when are you going to stop supporting the socialist in office? You know, the guy who wants to own shares in private companies, who wants to tariff everything, who wants to threaten companies. You know, come on, Senator Lee. You proclaim yourself to be a constitutionalist and a capitalist. Meanwhile, you support this guy. Beat it.
So I want to contribute to this too, Michael. I feel like, yeah, the reason the young people would turn to socialism as opposed to this Trumponomics is because you have both sides living in a zero-sum game. So both sides look at the world from a zero-sum perspective. If someone gains, someone loses. Well, if a world is dominated by the ethics of altruism and sacrifice being the noble goal, the young folks want to be morally consistent, and they're going to want to be morally consistent with sacrifice as a noble goal. So if we live in a zero-sum world, we might as well put ourselves on the moral side of the zero-sum world, which is to sacrifice for the noble goal, which is what socialism offers them. Trumponomics offers them sacrificing for, I don't know, immediate gratification. I can't say it's just sacrifice almost. Yeah, it's sacrificing the other to the self. So it's that false dichotomy that the zero-sum world puts up, where you either cannibalize your neighbor. You know what's
it's interesting, Mark, because that is actually the claim. We're going to sacrifice others to ourselves by putting tariffs, but in actuality, we're sacrificing ourselves because the tax is on us, not other people. So even in his bastardized version of self-interest, it's not even doing that. It's not even punishing others. It's punishing us.
Indeed, it is. And when they talk about government revenues going up somewhere in the neighborhood of $290 to $300 billion, remember that is capital stolen from the private sector and now going into the parasitic political class, where it will do absolutely nothing except be wasted. So yeah, so I mean that's our short take. I didn't think we were going to go through that article so quickly, but yeah, in a zero-sum world, the young folks who want to be morally consistent or are looking for moral guidance are going to go for what they consider to be the virtue. And in a zero-sum world, socialism is the virtue. But Michael, we don't live in a zero-sum world, do we?
No, and we could talk about the article more because you just asked me why it's occurring, but the fact is, it is occurring. Socialists are in many ways ascendant. Their ideology is ascendant, and we need to be able to make these arguments for capitalism. We need to understand them. We need to be able to make them cogently and consistently. So, when we, for instance, recommend books and articles, please, everybody out there, read them. Persephone, has the great list of books that people can be reading. It's on our website, which, post the website, Persephone, up on the screen so the folks can see it.
Yeah, Mike, it's like, before you go on, I feel like
What?
if everybody just read Hazlitt's book, Economics in One Lesson,
That'd be a great start.
They wouldn't
No. Well, the problem is Hazlitt doesn't. I think that we need to make the economic argument true, but I think the moral argument is absolutely imperative because
find that with Rand.
Yes. Chandler's here.
So Capitalism, the Unknown Ideal, read that book as well, folks. And if you read those two books, you have the moral philosophy behind capitalism and why capitalism is practical, why the moral and the practical are wedded together, not different as Trump would look at the world, but the same. And why capitalism is the best, most moral system out there, folks. Did you want to say something? You
Persephone's stressing me out.
Why?
Because she's not posting the website up here. I understand she's enamored, but she got to stay focused.
She's focused. Well, folks, socialism is not the answer, as we were saying.
What was that? Was that a proclamation?
Capitalism is a win-win society, not a lose-win.
This is true.
The trader principle is that I exchange with you because I think that I'm getting a greater value for what I have, and you think the same. And so we trade to mutual benefit. There's no zero sum in it. There's no sacrifice. There's no loss. There's none of that. There's only gain. Now, whether or not that's objectively true is another issue, but that's not the moral standard. You also sent me something here from the Morning Dispatch that I sort of wanted to get to here. Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson warned on Monday that the government could not reallocate federal funds to temporarily sustain the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program during the ongoing shutdown, reiterating a Trump administration memo issued on Friday. SNAP benefits are currently set to run out on November 1st. Johnson explained that any plan to pool funding for SNAP would take dollars away immediately from school meals and infant formula. Now, Michael, I thought to myself, first of all, why is the government involved in feeding people? Why are they feeding children in schools? Why do we have public schools that the government is responsible for? And what in the hell does government have to do with infant formula? All of this stuff is absolutely insane. The government has embedded itself so intensely in everybody's life that, look, in a capitalist society, the shutdown of the government would mean very little to anyone. The fact that it is catastrophic for our economy and for sections of it, the fact that there are employee unions, public sector unions, which seems to be a conflict of interest. If the government has a fiduciary obligation to the citizens of the United States, unions, public sector unions seem to operate in complete opposition to their fiduciary obligations to the citizens, because they are trying to acquire values at public expense. They're making firing them a legal issue. And you find people's jobs are statutorily protected in the government. I've never heard of, there can't be such a thing in the private sector, but in the public sector, that you can't fire these people. All of this does not seem to be in the fiduciary interests of the American people. What say you about this?
Well, first of all, yes, it's absolutely unjust and absolutely ridiculous that there's so many people dependent on the government for their food. But that said, is this the way to do away with it? You have 40 million people dependent on this, and then out of nowhere, gone. That just does not seem like a rational way to do it. It's not being done on principle. It's just government shutdown. Boom, this is gone. Now these 40 million people, without warning, without understanding why, are not going to have, the necessities. Which part of me says, well, look, you shouldn't have been on it to begin with. But and that's how, if I were to talk to an individual, that's what I would say. But broadly, as government policy, it's just not a rational way to do things.
Yeah, you'd think that this would educate people as to the perils of putting yourself and your moral agency in the hands of a government, of a political body, which is going to act in its own political interests. It's going to act to maintain its own power. You are irrelevant. You're irrelevant. And now that's not the case with the market. I think every human being is relevant in the marketplace, and decisions that happen in the marketplace are motivated by realities, by certain realities, inescapable realities. This is not the case when things happen with the government. They are motivated by political realities that don't necessarily, and people are sort of objects to be shifted around within those political realities. And that's scary, man. Do you want your life to be dependent on a Washington bureaucrat or the whims of a president now who's overreaching the power of his office and now can shut down the government at his whim, or a legislature that can shut down the government at a whim? No, you want to be self-reliant. You do not want to be dependent on these people who will only care about protecting themselves and the establishment. What say you?
Persephone, is Mark too close? Because he's looking like he's too close to me. Should he back up a little bit? Yeah, there, better, much better, she says.
So, go ahead.
Well, now I forgot what the hell I was going to say. I was so enamored because you know what happened earlier today before we came on? I actually looked and I said, maybe I can boost my seat up a little bit. So I'm over here fidgeting around with my seat, and Persephone says, hey, is your seat out of gas? And I don't know what the hell that means.
Oh, I heard that when I came on.
Yeah, so I didn't answer, but then I'm looking and I'm noticing that you look taller than me, but it's because you're pressed up against the screen.
I feel like I'm not, though.
But you are, and it messes up the reels. But if we get back to the you said you'd think people will learn, right?
I said I would hope. You'd think.
Yeah.
You'd think. Yeah.
You think people would learn, and I find myself saying that an awful lot. Right? You think people will learn, but they don't. So I don't know. Am I the schmuck, who just thinks people are going to learn or people should learn? Because I got to tell you, when Obama took office, I was disgusted. I was so like, oh my God, how did they elect this socialist light liberal who says the Constitution's an obstacle? He's celebrating, his buddies, the guy with the chickens are coming home to roost and all that. I'm saying this is going to be a great lesson in real time where people will learn. Turns out they didn't.
Yeah.
They elected him twice and followed up with a protectionist.
And
so,
now we've got the prospect of a real socialist in as mayor of New York, and they're predicting a 90% chance that he's going to win this thing, even if Curtis Sleewood drops out of the race. Yeah,
it's mind-boggling to me. While that's my inclination too, is to think, well, people will learn. People should learn, but they don't. And I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't want to throw my hands up and just quit and give up. You have to keep fighting. I mean, life is worth fighting for. Freedom is worth fighting for. So we have to keep making the arguments. We have to maintain, I guess, some sense of optimism and just keep moving forward, keep trying.
Again, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's like I made a Kira Felix by the way, it's if I were a Jew. It's the subjunctive if, so it's not if I was a Jew. But anyway, I made a post the other day about how, I don't even really like talking politics. And I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to put it, but I prefer self-improvement stuff. I prefer personal growth epistemology. Sure. But you can't just leave politics to the charlatans. you have to keep trying. You have to, you have to argue with them. You have to push forward. So that's why we do it. But you and I, it's not all we do. Like, we do the show on the intersection between philosophy and psychology. That, you watch that and you prepare also for freedom, for self-improvement. And the more you improve, the more prepared you are for a free society. And I guess you just have to keep going, keep doing it. Somebody corrected me this morning, by the way, in my messages. Evidently, I had said something is of the utmost importance. And he came in and said, Michael, just for the record, it's actually utmost. I said, oh, okay, thanks.
As you notice, my cat doesn't have any concept of personal space. And ever since Frankie's been gone, he's been sort of doing this to me, which I have to say I appreciate. So look, Michael,
that's good. That brings people in. People see that cute cat, they want to tune in. Who wouldn't?
He's just clawing the hell out of me, trying to maintain his position on my chest. Yeah, so Michael, we have to make that moral case, which I think we do attempt to do, because you'll notice that people will sacrifice themselves happily if they think it's a virtue to sacrifice themselves. And so they will elect people like Mandami if they think it's a virtue to eat the rich, and the rich have a moral obligation to take care of them. They're going to elect the guy who's going to do that for them because they think it's moral. Guys, I'm Akira's brother, and you can tell him. Can you tell him to clean the table? I'll do breakfast. Yeah, Akira, did you hear that?
Yeah. Do something, dude. Don't just sit here and make comments and use the wrong tense when you say if. Actually, help with the chores.
Clear the table, man. I like that. I like that arrangement too. Somebody cleans up, somebody does the cooking. That's the way I think. It's a reciprocal relationship. I sort of like that. You sent me an article from Reason Magazine. We're talking about irrationality. This Virginia company says Donald Trump's tariffs make rational business planning impossible. Of course it does. Michael, talk a little bit about this article and this organization called Crutchfield Corporation. What they do, they're from Charlottesville, and they've got a lawsuit against Trump for these tariffs, for what the tariffs are actually, how the tariffs are impacting them. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, they're a company that relies on steel. I guess they don't manufacture steel, but they have to buy steel. So they got to buy a lot of their products from overseas that go into their final product. The problem is that they're unable to calculate because of the continually changing prices that are caused by the tariff. So they don't know what they should set their prices at. They don't know how much they could afford to buy because it just keeps changing and changing and changing. And that's the essence of what occurs here, is that you keep having to pay a different price. Capitalism requires some measure of predictability. Now, obviously, there's always going to be uncertainty in a market. What do people want? When are they going to want it? How much are they willing to pay for it? But prices serve a function of at least sending messages of where the market's headed, of what people are going to buy. But when those prices are continually changing, it's very difficult to see, to calculate what exactly people are going to want. And it just keeps happening. So again, you can always see this with these unjust policies. You have an unjust initiation of force directed at businesses in the form of taxation. And then you have the economic consequences that follow, which in this case are a distortion of the prices and an unpredictability in the market, so businesses can't calculate.
Yeah, I wanted to say something about this company because what's so great about this company is that it was started somewhere time in the 70s, and literally in the first year of its creation, they were about to file a Chapter 7. They pivoted to a different business model, and after years and years of being in business, they now have over 600 employees. So this is no small impact, Michael. I mean, this is a business, like, people don't understand how much work it takes to start up a business, number one. To be able to be mentally flexible enough to pivot your business model into something else, not only avoid bankruptcy, but begin to prosper, only to be derailed by the arbitrary whims of a single man who is convinced that tariffs will somehow make us rich, somehow taxing the middle class, somehow taxing the people in the lower tiers of the economic rung, somehow taxing everyone in America is going to make us wealthier. I mean, this is no different than what the leftists think. There really is no difference, essentially, in their economic conception of the world, that somehow government action, the parasitic political class, will make us richer by its activism, which it won't. Well, this company is in the middle of litigating. There's a whole bunch of lawsuits right now that are in the midst of filing briefs against the government for these tariffs. And did the article say, you might have to remind me here, that the Supreme Court will be deciding this pretty soon?
I don't know if the article said it, but I do know that the Supreme Court does have the case of whether it's unconstitutional for Trump to be putting out these tariffs. I think they're deciding that Wednesday. James, if you're on, maybe you can tell us if that's true or not, because this really will be a monumental decision on the part of the court, and to me, it will demonstrate their independence of the executive. If they can rule against Trump and in favor of the legislature and re-empower the legislature with the power of the purse, which is what it's been denying itself for the past several decades, perhaps the Trump train will be derailed with respect to tariffs, and the economy can get back to a little bit of certainty again. Because the uncertainty is crazy, Michael. It's driving up prices. It's keeping inflation at something like 3.1 to 3.5%, which is not good. I love this quote. I'm putting this up on the screen. I don't even know what she's referring to, and I still love it.
Bullshit written in a different font. Oh, I love that. That's true.
That's freaking great. I'm stealing that from you, because I'm going to use that. When someone starts telling me something they think is different, but it's the same old BS, I'm going to say, that's just bullshit, and it was written in a different font. I love it.
I love that too. We are going to steal it. Yeah. So
I like numbers is here to replace Scott Schiff with his traditional arguments for whatever Trump does. Here he is. Oh, wrong one. It's driving up prices of stocks.
Yeah. Okay. It might be starting irrational exuberance and rushes in various areas of the economy. That's all fake, and that really doesn't matter. I wanted to get to this little thing from Mike Allen that you sent me. ABC News, Jonathan Karl breaks news in the photo section. Retribution is out today, this book written by Jonathan Karl, I guess. Karl reprints the calendar page where Vice President Mike Pence kept notes from both sides of the heated conversations he had with President Trump on the morning of January 6, 2021. This is all cemented in our memories now, folks. It's a very significant day. Hours before the Capitol riot, Trump says to Pence, quote, "You'll go down as a wimp. I made a big mistake 5 years ago." Pence to Trump, "It doesn't take courage to break the law. It takes courage to uphold the law." I love what Pence said there, and I love that he stood up.
I do too. I love both.
We have jellied spines nowadays, invertebrates in the office, in the administration with him now, who won't actually gut check this guy. That is an amazing thing to say. That is Americanism right there.
And by the way, what exactly was it? Because this is very important to me. What was it that Trump was asking Pence to do that he would not do?
He didn't want him to certify the election.
Right. Something over which Pence has no authority. It's a ceremonial thing that you just do it. Right. But Trump didn't want him to. And this is like everything gets kind of lost in the wash and in the cacophony of bullshit of a different font that comes from the Trump people. Right. Because it's now been, they accepted it was a stolen election, but it wasn't. They weren't upset about it enough to riot. The rioters were Antifa in the FBI, and everything just goes away because they flood the zone, like Steve Bannon said. And we forget, or I don't forget, and you, but people forget that Steve Bannon ahead of time said that's what Trump was going to do, was claim that the election was stolen and that he won, even though that wasn't going to be the case. So it was already planned. Then Trump actually did it. Trump lost in I don't know how many different courts, but then they have the justification for that too. They lie and say, yes, but he never had a hearing in court. What it actually was they just denied him standing, which is BS because there's papers out there written by lawyers from across the spectrum called Lost, Not Stolen, which shows that no, in fact, he did get a hearing in court. Then you had Dinesh D'Souza put out his BS video, 2,000 Mules, which he was subsequently sued over. But it just keeps going.
Did he lose?
I believe he settled. I think he settled the lawsuit and publicly
So
apologized for it.
and also it wasn't the company that sued Fox and won.
No, that was Dominion, because there were claims that Dominion voting machines were being switched out or some such thing. But none of that matters, because you have people with a narrative that they want to believe, so they believe it. And, I sent you something from Trump today, and I think that this is why I kind of want to get into this, because you're going to see Trump, he's still making this claim. It's a complete whitewashing of history. It's not what happened. And I'm not defending Democrats or the left or saying they did everything right. Adam Schiff is a scumbag. Adam Schiff, I remember him saying, we have the proof, something to this effect, that Trump colluded with Russia, but then he never actually presented the proof. I'm not defending them. I'm not defending Letitia James going after Trump and promising she was going to do it ahead of time. But it's a fact of history that ahead of time, Trump's advisor, pal, Steve Bannon, said Trump was going to do this. Then Trump did it. Mike Pence refused to do what Trump wanted him to do. Trump tried to slate phony electors. That's all true. So, we had, and I'm so alarmed that it's just going to be erased, the facts of what actually occurred, that it really is an annoying things. Libra with Diego said he did many videos back in the day. Diego's porn career notwithstanding, I guess we can move to the.
You sent me a text from Nick Gillespie. I used to be proud of being American. This is fucked up beyond belief, and it's basically a video of a Hispanic-looking woman who's walking into a Walmart or something, being approached by two ICE officers. Masked, by the way, completely masked and armed to the teeth, and asking her what country she's from. Folks, you may have an anti-immigrant stance. You may be one of these nationalists that think that immigrants somehow do not contribute, but rather parasitize not only the social fabric, but the economic fabric of the United States. But this is not American. You simply should not see this kind of stuff happening in America, and yet it is. Michael, what do you think about this? This is one of the more offensive videos I think I've seen in a long time.
It's grotesque. It's utterly grotesque. And the point here is, it would be wrong if this happened to somebody that was here absolutely illegally. That's how far I would go. But the fact of the matter is, you don't even know. And this is the problem with giving the executive all the authority to decide who's guilty, who's not, because you don't actually have to prove it in a court of law. Nothing needs to be proven. You don't need probable cause. You see a Mexican or a Puerto Rican and you say, hey, why are you here? Where are you from? And we're supposed to be okay with that. We're supposed to cheer it. And there's some objectivists out there who will say, yeah, but what about the Democrats?
Yeah, that's where they evade. That's where they use whataboutism to evade.
Yes.
To evade the reality that Trump is using arbitrary power to violate the constitutional rights of individuals. They don't have to be citizens to fall under the umbrella of constitutional protections, folks. Individuals in the state, within the states here. This should not be happening in the United States of America, and it wouldn't be happening in a capitalist country, one that embraced individual rights as its primary guiding moral philosophy. You wouldn't see this kind of egregious overuse of police power. This is just despicable, and there's really nothing else to say about it other than that. I keep every time I go back to the articles, I keep landing on Leonard Peikoff's mullet, his mullet do, with the business and the front, party in the back. Look at the love you, Leonard. Seriously, do. So apparently, still going on this immigration topic, Reason magazine wrote, federal immigration agents accused of tear gassing peaceful protesters and pointing a gun at a veteran in Chicago. So we know right now that ICE is going crazy over there in Chicago. They've sent federal troops over there to protect ICE and allow them to do their unconstitutional stuff against the city and the governor of Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, against their wishes. The president has declared an emergency, and under the Emergency Powers Act has now committing, I guess, a type of martial law in the city of Chicago. But at some point, this person who's been now this custom agent, Gregory Bovino, was accused of throwing tear gas at somebody. So he's now going, I guess, to court. Michael, is that what's happening with him?
Yeah, he's arguing that he was hit in the face with a rock, for which, from what I could gather, there's no evidence that this occurred. It's interesting because when I originally read the title of this article and it talked about the allegations, I generally don't like pieces like that because it's, if they did this, it's very bad. I don't want to speculate about what they did, but as I read further into the article, it seemed pretty clear to me. Like, they don't even deny that the incident occurred. They're just claiming, well, rocks were thrown at us. Whatever. How about this? If they weren't there, this would not happen. They should not be there. So
Correct.
We could start with that. Now, does that justify somebody throwing a rock at them? No, but then prove it. Right? Don't just mace people or shoot rubber bullets at people or whatever other sick things that they're doing.
They shot somebody in the neck with a pepper bullet.
Yeah, pepper bullet, not rubber bullet. Yeah, pepper bullet. Prove that they did what you're saying. You're supposed to be wearing cameras, so all this should be on film.
I don't think they are. I don't think they are obligated to, but it's in the temporary restraining order. I think that they should start wearing cameras so all this stuff can happen.
Okay. So okay. So then I guess it's not, but so nobody filmed this. You had to, they're claiming that people are throwing rocks at them. They're constantly claiming that the protesters are attacking them, assaulting them. What's the word I'm looking for here? Whatever, haranguing them. Well, you should have it. You should have it on film. Somebody should, right? Like if I kept doing my job, and my claim was when I go to do my job, I'm being harassed, threatened, and assaulted. And filming it is as simple as bringing the phone. I would just do that. That would be so easy, right?
Of course.
So why aren't they doing it? Well, maybe it's not happening.
Indeed. I want to read one of the last paragraphs of this because the punchline of it is pretty scary. Other federal agents are also accused of violating Ellis's temporary restraining order on October 23rd by failing to wear obviously visible identification, needlessly shooting a protester in the neck with a pepper ball from 5 feet away, folks, 5 feet away, and pointing a real gun at a combat veteran who was lawfully standing on the side of the road and saying, "Bang, bang, you're dead, liberal." Now, okay, that bespeaks a type of character in law enforcement that we don't want in law enforcement. But it shows me that what kind of human beings are attracted to an authoritarian type of government. This is the kind of human being you're going to get in law enforcement, folks. When you give extraordinary powers to the police to abuse the citizenry, you're going to attract these sadistic little power lusters, these little tyrants in their own little worlds. Somebody who has unlimited authority, or so he thinks, to point a loaded weapon at a citizen lawfully minding his own business and say, "Bang, bang, you're dead, liberal." No, that is not the kind of world we want to live in. As capitalists, the police protect your life and property. They don't become the enemy of the people. They don't violate your rights. That is not the purpose of the police. The police is to protect your life and property, not to violate your life and property. Unfortunately, this is what we're getting now with this crazy immigration policy, Michael, just rationalized by the nationalist right, and with the crazy war on drugs, where the president just outright says, "We're going to kill people. That's what we're going to do." Has any president ever said that? Has any president ever said that? In my memory, I've been on this planet 6 decades. I do not remember a president ever saying, "We're going to kill people. They're going to be dead."
Mark, it's interesting because the other night when I drive, I tend to put on right-wing talk radio. Just for a couple of reasons. I like to see what they're thinking. Plus, as a talk show host, I like to see methods of communication. That stuff, how the shows go. And they actually thought that was great. They were laughing it up. They thought it was fantastic that Trump was doing that because they look at, he's owning them. Ha ha, he's owning them. You're such a pathetic puss.
No, he's not owning them. And in fact, those powers, that ownership is going to turn around real fast on you when the other side gets the opportunity.
And then they will be crying.
Yes, so they will be a crying, which we've seen in the past. You also you sent me this tweet from the Republicans against Trump, who I actually follow. The Department of Justice Deputy Chief Joseph Schnitt was caught on a hidden camera. This is from Veritas, by the way. He used to catch leftists all the time in their lies.
That's who this is from?
It said Veritas, yeah. So
right.
I love that. I love that they're going after the right too. They're actually sticking to their moniker. He was caught on a hidden camera saying the government will, quote, redact every Republican from the Epstein files. He also revealed that Ghislaine Maxwell was transferred to a minimum security prison, quote, to keep her mouth shut. Now, this is something we all suspected since that transfer happened, the day after her long and extensive interview with somebody from the Department of Justice. But apparently this is in violation of law. Since she's a convicted sex offender, they can't actually, or should not, be able to transfer her to this other prison. Do you know anything about that, Michael?
About
what the Department of Justice guy said, that it's
I just saw that today here, but I looked into it a little bit, and I mean I posted it. I asked Grok, is this is this legit, is this real? And it said absolutely correct. And that what the hell's the word I'm looking for here? I don't know, whatever it is that you call it when you follow somebody, that site or that group, whatever, they have a pretty good track record. So I assume that it's accurate. And, what? Like, how come no one's looking into this? I mean, maybe they are and we just don't know it, but it certainly would jive with the way that Trump has been doing things, right? I mean, pardoning his buddies, going after his enemies. It's a fact that she got moved to a minimum security prison where she shouldn't have been moved to, because they don't move sex offenders to those types of prisoners. Plus, she's so early in her sentence. So we know that that's true. And we also know that they've been slow rolling any information about Epstein coming out. So it seems to make sense to me. And by the way, I'm not an Epstein conspiracy guy.
We're not saying correlation is causation, but there certainly looks like where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm not convinced that there's this grand list out there of Epstein and who was trafficked to whom and all that. I'm very skeptical about it. But at the same time, these people claim that there was such a list. And now you have this guy saying that any Republicans on such a list are going to be scrubbed from it. Seems a little suspicious.
It seems a lot suspicious.
A lot suspicious. I'll go with a lot. I'll go with a lot.
It should be getting wider view. I don't know if MSNBC or CNN is picking this up. Certainly Fox. If Brett Baier says he's still fair, balanced, and unafraid, he should be taking this Veritas video and presenting it on Fox as supposedly, the anchor of the show, of the entire network. If he's the objective news guy he claims he is, this should be all over Fox. So somebody should tell me if this has been on Fox News, because I don't think it is. So the Jacobin, one of the worst publications I think I ever am forced to read, because Michael constantly gives me articles from them, claims that the socialists are key leaders of the anti-Trump opposition. Now, we discussed this earlier as to why we think that's so. That's our analysis from a capitalist perspective. I still stick to it. I think when you have a world where both sides see it as a zero sum, where one wins, one loses in any transaction, the socialists are on the side of altruism, where sacrifice is a virtue. And so concretizing that in the form of a moral political system like socialism seems like the just and moral thing to do. It seems like the just and moral thing to do to sacrifice millionaires and billionaires to those who have less. So in the zero-sum game, people are going to always go for the virtues, even if those virtues are self-destructive. People will go for the virtue anyway, even if those virtues are self-destructive, Michael. That's why it's so imperative for us to make a rational, egoistic, and moral case for the superiority of capitalism to any social, moral, political system out there in the world. What do you think about this Jacobin article? I paper.
Yeah, but I don't send it to you whether you hate. That's not the point. The point is to get an alternative perspective so that we can critique the perspective, not so that you can get all wound up. Persephone's real pretty, by the way. Does everybody else agree? Okay. To the topic at hand. This goes to a point, Mark, that you frequently make, and that is that the left socialists are the ones that are actually consistent, the ones that are actually principled. And the fact that they're principled, the fact that they're consistent allows them to oppose Trump. Because if he just partially meddles with the economy, they say, well, look, you're inconsistent. You're not fully doing it. You cut taxes. Look, you're supporting the rich. Everything that Trump does is inconsistent. They have a consistent alternative. And when capitalism is presented as the orange idiot, that socialism sure looks appealing. Persephone, you should see her smiling right now. She's blushing. Oh my goodness.
Rand said something like in an argument between two philosophies, the most consistent always wins. And that's true here. And that's why socialism is on the rise and why it's been slowly but surely taking over the Democratic Party. Because the Democrats' heavy statism and altruistic bent will naturally lead them towards socialism. It's the Republicans who are morally compromised.
This explains something. This explains something to me.
What's that?
Why I win all my arguments with you and Jim.
You don't, though.
Because I'm the consistent one, and you two are. No, you definitely. No doubt about it.
All right, that's going to go on. That's going to go on out of context. But I do.
That should go in context because the context is that's what the two of you are.
Okay, I think that's why the Democrats have to go socialist. That's why any so-called quote unquote conservative who tries to toe some middle ground in the Democratic Party are going to go by the wayside. The Democratic Party of the future is the squad, is the AOC, are the sacrificers of the individuals to the collective. And the Republicans are looking to the strong man and to the nationalists as some form of answer to that. It's not an answer. The real answer to that, is the morality of individualism and the political practice of that in the form of individual rights. That's what the answer is to that, and consistently upholding those principles. What are you showing? Yes, in other words, the American Capitalist Party, folks. So go to AmericanCapitalistParty.org, read the policies, donate, be a part of this argument, become a part of it. Folks, we're at a crossroads here. This is a pivotal time in history where we can either go to fully down the statist road and lose Americanism forever, or recapture it again and make it progressive with objectivist ideas and moral consistency. Michael, that's all the articles that we have for today. So
no, it's not. You didn't get first of all, you didn't even comment on how when I had this, it was like Jaws. Doo doo doo.
I didn't know its way up. Jaws.
It made its way up. Yeah, it's good to check in on Jacobin from time to time. Yes, and Persephone says make it get American capitalism again. Yes, but you did not talk about the tweet that I sent where Trump talks about securing the upcoming elections and the election was stolen from him. I even referenced it in the previous discussion.
This is the one you sent me last night.
Well, what difference does it make?
Well, because it wasn't on my agenda for today. But yes, the one from Monica Crawley.
Poor Persephone is shaking her
President Trump
head.
on the stolen 2020 election. We now know everything, and so buckle up. She says on the Truth Social post. He says, "What's worse, the NBA players cheating at cards and probably much else, or the Democrats cheating on elections?" And this is highlighted: the 2020 presidential election being rigged and stolen is a far bigger scandal. Look at what happened to our country when a crooked moron became our president. Is he talking about himself? That could be taken in a lot of ways.
It could.
He says now, of course, in his typical lying fashion, we shouldn't take anything that he says seriously. We now know everything. I hope the DOJ pursues this with as much gusto as befitting the biggest scandal in American history. If not, it will happen again. And I think we're getting a seed planted here. This is what they call planting a seed, Michael, in a narrative.
It is very much.
It's foreshadowing, and then later on, that seed comes true in some plot point. If not, it'll happen again, he says, including the upcoming midterms.
There you go.
Planting the seed. No mail-in or early voting. Yes to voter ID. Watch how totally dishonest the California proposition vote is. Millions of ballots being shipped. Get smart, Republicans, before it's too late. I'm tired of the political infighting, Michael. I'm tired of the tribal bullshit. I'm tired of the collectivism. I'm tired of altruism dominating the political discourse. I want to see a rational humanist up there, somebody who actually understands what conditions are necessary for human beings to thrive. Go ahead.
So I just want to, and I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Trump claimed that the legal system in the real estate business was rigged against him. He's claimed that lawsuits were rigged against him. He claimed that the Emmys, when he lost, were rigged against him. He claimed that the Iowa primary was rigged against him. Prior to the election, the primaries in 2006 even happening, they asked him if he would support the Republican candidate. He said, it depends if I'm treated fairly. There was another primary where he said it was rigged against him, though I can't remember right now where it was. When he won in 2016 but lost the popular vote, he said that was rigged against him. And then when he lost in 2020, it said it was rigged against him. When he cannot handle losing. Narcissistic paradox, folks. Look it up. Whenever he loses, it enrages him. He can't handle it, and he has to justify, excuse it, explain it away somehow. So he always claims that it's rigged. So now we have, and by the way, according to Leslie Stahl, take it for what it's worth. I'm not saying she's the one to go by, but I'm just saying that she did say it, that she asked him why he's always attacking the media. And he said it's to do what Mark just said, plant the seed so that people don't trust the bad stories about him. That's what he's doing. That's what he's always doing. He's always claiming it's rigged. And just be mindful. Just be mindful of 2026, because I think the seed is being planted to either rig the election himself, if he can. I'm not saying he even could do such a thing, but I think he would if he could. Or when they lose, start with this bullshit again.
Well, I hope you're wrong on both accounts, but I'm unclear as to what the future holds for us in 2026. That's for sure. We have very poor choices out there. It's the perfect time for the American Capitalist Party to start flourishing. Folks, we're picking up a chapter, it looks like, in Georgia. And we're trying to expand, and we will expand because these are the right ideas. These are the ideas that America was based on. Michael, you have the capitalist thought for the day.
I do, but then you're going to give the question.
Okay.
Capitalist thought of the day is this. There are a lot of arguments out there for different types of political systems. To the far left, we have the socialists. They want a socialist regime. We have the Trumpist, protectionist, nationalist, masquerading as if they're capitalists, but they're not. And, you know, I spend a lot of my time online arguing with anarcho-capitalists. The thing is none of these are viable. None of them are capitalist. Capitalism is the system whereby property rights are protected. In order for property rights to be protected and secure, we need to have objective laws over a given geographical area that everyone is capable of knowing in advance, so that we have the predictability that we talked about earlier. There is no political party out there other than the American Capitalist Party that is consistently in favor of protecting the individual rights of the citizens and the type of system that it takes to do that. Check out AmericanCapitalistParty.org. Continue to check out this show where we have fun, but we make arguments for capitalism and freedom on a daily basis. Make sure to check us out. Make sure to go to YouTube, comment, share from YouTube to your social media platforms, and like the show. Help us promote capitalism. Help us move forward. And now I turn it over to Mark.
Also, remember this weekend, folks, Self-Made Soul. We'll be doing it this weekend, I think Saturday, at the usual time, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. So watch that, folks. We'll be analyzing another of Nathaniel Brandon's essays. Also, I will be doing something post-Halloween because I'm too busy on Friday. So that day, Saturday, I will be doing a little talk. We'll have a little horror roundtable for everybody, for all you horror fanatics out there. I am one. And I'd like to challenge anybody who's an objectivist who thinks maybe horror is not a medium an objectivist should like. I'll tell you exhaustively why I think that's not so. In fact, my question will revolve around horror. Since it is Halloween, folks, what horror movie do you prefer? Do you prefer slasher films or psychological horror? Or maybe a third category, body horror? Please answer those questions, answer one of those on YouTube. And tomorrow, Annabelle. Yeah, as I know somebody's busting my balls right now because I didn't want to mess with Annabelle. I admit it. I didn't want to mess with Annabelle. I had the opportunity at the Warrens convention. Michael was there. He was a witness to it. I chickened out. I wasn't going to open Annabelle's case, take Annabelle out and throw her around the tent like Michael wanted to do. In fact, I discouraged him from doing it. So yeah, that's a truth. We'll be here tomorrow, folks. Same bat time, same bat place, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern time. You've got 23 hours to check your premises. Until that time, peace, folks.